host of the roundtable discussion, Maya Vardi Shoshani, to lead the discussion about Binational grant opportunities. Maya?
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you for the very interesting panel. We would like to discuss now some tools that the two governments established in order to facilitate joint projects between American and Israeli companies. And thank you for joining us for the Bird Foundation Roundtable discussion. We would like to use this hour to introduce Bird and the Bird Energy funding opportunity and show you some success stories. We have 3 companies that won our grants, and they will tell us about their projects and share some advice. I'd like to introduce the other roundtable participants. Of course, I am Maya Vardi Shoshani. I am the Bird's West Coast Director of Business Development, and I'm based in California. With me, we have Shiri Freund Koren, who is leading the Bird operations in Texas and the southern US. And she's also the US coordinator for the Energy Center for Excellence. We have Phil Herman, the Senior VP of Energy and Infrastructure for Blink Charging. Ilan Ben David, the co-founder and CTO of Chakratech. And Gil Shavit, the President and Chief Business Development for Gentile Energy. I know that on the line we also have Eitan Yudelevich, Bird's Executive Director, and Limor Nakar-Vincent, who is the Deputy Executive Director for Bird and also in charge of Bird Energy. And I know that if we will have many questions in the chat box, and please feel free to leave your information, contact information, and ask any questions. We will all try to either answer online or reach out to you later privately and continue the conversation. She will give us details now about, she'll give a presentation about Bird Energy and the Energy Center and explain to us how to apply. And then we will continue with the companies. Shiri, the floor is yours.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay. So good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I would like to give you an overview about the Bird Foundation program. Bird offers non-dilutive funding opportunities and potential partnerships between American and Israeli innovative companies. I will specifically present the Bird Energy program, and I will also share information about the Energy Center afterward. If you'd like to ask questions during my talk, as Maya mentioned, you are welcome to write them down in the chat box, and Maya and I and other Bird team members will answer every question. The time will allow us here, but we will not leave unanswered questions, and we will reach out and answer all other questions as well. So the particular program that I'm going to talk about today from Bird relates to energy and environmental technologies, but I would like also to say a few words about the general fund, because it applies as well, and because the process and procedures for applying is similar to all our programs. Bird is actually an acronym for Binational Industrial Research and Development Fund. We are more like a federally funded industrial R&D program because all of our funding comes from federal sources. So we were established by the two governments back in 1977. We began with an endowment that was given by both governments together 50-50 of $110 million with the intention to support and foster collaboration and innovative technologies between the US and Israeli companies. And use this funding to help support specific projects in a way that will benefit both countries. We have a board of governors that is represented by both governments, with representative from NIS, Department of Commerce, State Department, Department of Treasury, and the similar ministries on the Israeli side, the Israeli Innovation Authority, the Ministry of Economy and Industry, and the Ministry of Finance. So the general boards invest in all different technologies. As you can see here, we have investment in energy, water, and environment that we're talking about today. We also have investment in agrotech and in other areas, excluding military-specific applications. So the Bird Energy was initiated in 2009, and the stakeholders for this specific programs are the American DOE and the Ministry of Energy in Israel, together with the Innovation Authority. Bird Energy funds the project, the joint development of advanced technologies in renewable energy and in energy efficiency, as well as gas technologies. But if you think that you have a technology that falls under the broader definition of energy and environment, but it's not listed here, it would be a good idea to talk to us so that we can review it. The general bird has 2 cycles a year, one in March and one in September, and the Bird Energy has funding cycles in June, which call for proposal were just published today. The upcoming cycles takes place on June 30th, in 3.5 months from now, actually. Every year we received around 4 million, which according to which we invest in the Bird Energy projects. Okay, so how does it work? The Bird Energy gives non-dilutive funding to joint projects between 2 companies, US and Israeli, or between a company and a research institute. Bird can fund up to 50% of the project expenses and up to $1 million per project. It is a $1-to-dollar match toward each of the company's R&D associated with the project. This is a non-dilutive funding. We don't take IP rights or equity. We get repayments from successful projects, which helps us keep our funds sustainable. But repayments are capped and non-dilutive themselves. If the project is not successful, there is no repayment at all. The fund becomes a grant, termed a recoverable grant. The money is divided between the 2 companies according to work share. Ideally, it would be 50-50, but we will accept up to 70-30%. And now, moving forward to the submission process. So the first step is submission of an executive summary that is a short document based on a template that can be found on our website. We highly recommend for companies to share a draft of the summary with us before the submission, meaning communicate with us if you decide to submit executive summary, so that we'll be able to assist and support in the process by giving feedback. A few days later, after the submission, we will return to the company with a no-go recommendation. We can advise not to submit or maybe to submit in the next round. Mic open. About a month and a half later is the submission of the final proposal. The review is done by Israeli reviewers from the Israeli Innovation Authority and Department of Energy, and by an American reviewer assigned by the DOE. On the Israeli side, the reviewer has an opportunity to meet with the companies and ask questions. The executive committee makes a final decision. So how do we evaluate the proposals? We're actually looking for a high level of innovation and good synergy between the companies. Sometimes it can be a pilot project. We would like to see that the companies identified a good market opportunity and quantify it. And finally, that they can demonstrate a commercialization strategy and know how to get to the market. We don't get involved in the business decision of the companies about IP, for example. But once the project is awarded, we ask to present us with a signed agreement between themselves, between the companies, that includes a paragraph discussing the repayments to Bird. We will also conduct a financial due diligence to make sure that the company has the resources to gather the matching fund. Every segment lasts 6 months, and when it ends, the company will submit a financial milestone report, and based on the project and the agreement, we will provide the next amount of funding. On our website, you can find companies that were awarded with the Bird Energy grant. So why Bird and why Bird Energy? Obviously, because of the funding. We also share the risk, which is an important factor, especially when projects are involving a very innovative and challenging technology. There is a validation or a stamp of approval by having DOE and the Israeli side approve this technology. So companies can say this technology is DOE approved through Bird. The binational collaboration is very beneficial for the company's growth to get access to new markets and new technologies. And finally, there is a commitment that helps get the project to the market. At the end of the day, projects succeed through Bird because of the relationship between the partners. So it's important to see a commitment on both sides. Typically, if a project does not succeed, it's usually not because of the technology that didn't work, but often it's because partnership wasn't strong enough. So also part of what we do is try to assist when there are challenges and hiccups along the way. Here you can see a few of Bird Energy companies who joined projects that we awarded. And I also like to speak about the Energy Center. So the Bird Foundation, as I mentioned earlier, was established back in the 70s. And since then, we have added a few topics such as energy that we're talking about today, and also homeland security. The Energy Center is a bit different. It was established in 2018 by the US DOE and the Israeli Ministry of Energy and Innovation Authority. The stakeholders appointed the Bird Foundation as the operating agent of the Energy Center. Unlike regular Bird project that involves two entities, the center fund consortia. So the center is comprised of 4 topic areas as follows: fossil energy, energy storage, and energy water nexus. They were selected in March 2020, and the energy cyber that is being selected this week. Each area a consortium was selected, a group of universities, research labs, utilities, and commercial companies that together becomes a kind of excellence. Maybe everyone could make sure that their microphones are on. Thank you. The selected consortium were awarded with $1 million for a 5 years activity, while 50% cost share is required. All but the cyber that was awarded, that is being awarded $6 million for 3 years activity. In the future, new topics will be selected, and the center activity will include more R&D groups. I'm showing here 3 of the selected groups. You can see that here within the Energy Center, we have consortiums, as I said, that contain quite a few entities. Each, and it shows the different types of entities from both countries and how they formed such a collaboration. They are led by universities, the 3 consortiums that you see here, but it doesn't have to be. All right. The Energy Center offers a new funding options for a wide R&D activity, and actually enables a new opportunity for the collaboration of universities, research centers, and commercial companies, both from US and from Israel, in promoting energy technologies innovation. We have a lot more information on the website under the Energy Center, including recorded webinars and much more. So thanks for listening. Please feel free to reach out to any of the BIRD team via email or LinkedIn. Here in the US, we have the contact details of Maya on the West Coast, Andrea on the East Coast and Midwest, and me in the South. I'm located in Austin, Texas. We can provide more information, answer questions, and help facilitate partnerships and with the submission process. Thank you.
Thank you, Shiri. And if I can ask everyone besides the speakers to mute themselves, it will be very helpful. So I want to turn now to Phil, Ilan, and Gil. If you could, Phil, if you could take 3 minutes and introduce yourself. Shiri, can you stop sharing your screen?
Yeah.
It's a nice screen.
Sorry.
Yeah, so
it's not that cluttered for a desktop. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah, so let me get started. So my name is Phil Herman. Thanks for having me. I'm happy to participate. I serve as the Senior Vice President for Energy and Infrastructure for Blink Charging Company. Blink is a leading owner and operator and provider of EV charging equipment and services and networked charging solutions. Blink is a publicly traded company on NASDAQ. Our principal line of products and services is surrounded by our proprietary OCPP compliant charging network, which is a cloud-based platform that allows us to operate, maintain, and manage all of the charging stations located on the network. As a network EV charging provider, we're able to not only collect all the data and manage the cost, but also charge for charging sessions for publicly available. Oh, I'm sorry. Is my video not on? Yeah, it is.
Now it's on.
Okay, great. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm having a little bit of connectivity issues, so I'm actually on my mobile device. So just bear with me, but thank you. So we operate a very large proprietary OCPP network, which is really important to the charging infrastructure, because without that, It's hard to manage the thousands of chargers on the network, as well as process all of those transactions for public charging, etc. We've deployed thousands of chargers. We've been around, probably one of the original charging companies in the US. We've been around about 12 years. And we're finally hitting our stride. We were founded by Michael Farkas, who is the visionary in the industry, and has done really great things for EV charging, as being a pioneer and a visionary. And Blink is really the implementation of that vision. And so we have to give Mike Farkas a lot of credit for that. We also typically leverage our property partners. So while we operate the network and provide charging solutions and stuff, these things have to go somewhere. And so we leverage our partners, our real estate partners, our real estate hosts, which are probably the who's who of many of the businesses that we're all familiar with. And we provide those partners a lot of flexibility in the business models that that we use. And first and foremost, Blink is one of the largest owner and operators of charging stations. So we're not just an infrastructure company that provides products and services, but we actually own and operate, which gives us a very unique perspective in the industry, and has helped us not only develop better products because we need to use them ourselves and rely on them, but we also want them to last a really long time. So what we've done is we've taken an industry that got very accustomed to planned obsolescence, so that we could turn charging stations over, and we created some very interesting equipment that actually has a very long-term perspective and is future-proof. And so it's really done very well for us. We're also, the last thing I'll say about Blink is that we're also very focused on new energy. And in fact, the grant that we're talking about here is all about that. It's the integration of charging and storage, essentially providing a fast charge on a weak grid, which is much, much more common than people might believe, especially where it's needed. Once you get out of the cities and into the rural environments where charging becomes very important, there's often a lack of utility or power infrastructure to help you do that. And so Blink turns to new energy to resolve that. And I think that we, in addition to new energy, we are really going to leverage our network in order to do many of the things that are done differently in the industry. So we're looking at consolidating a typical industry transformation where you have a lot of different third parties that work together in order to create a solution, particularly when it includes energy storage. And we're trying to support that directly through our OCPP network, so that essentially by simply connecting chargers to the network, not only will you be able to process public charging transactions and manage the chargers, but it will also give you the local control, the supervisory control, and the data acquisition required for new energy without any additional third-party equipment. So hopefully that will be a real paradigm shift for the industry and for Blink, and really getting the cost out, because many of these systems are smaller, and it's important to streamline and to have the right process. So that's Blink, and we'll answer
Phil.
any of the questions, but thank you.
Yeah, I'll have more questions to you in a minute, but I want to turn to your partner, to Ilan Ben David from Chakratech, to tell us about his company, and then we'll hear about the project a little bit.
Hi, good morning. So as Maya said, my name is Ilan Ben David, and I'm one of the founders of the company. And I'm going to share a short presentation about what we do. Just a second. Somehow I don't see it. Okay.
Okay, we see your screen.
Okay. Yeah, it's let me jump.
You're welcome.
It's okay. Let me stop sharing and I will tell the story, because that's not the right screen. So in general, we make an energy storage system for supporting fast charging in weak grid, as Phil have said. What's unique about our system is that because of this application is actually considered the most difficult application for storage system, because you have a lot of high power cycles along the day. It's batteries will be degraded very fast in this application, or you will have to replace your batteries very frequently. We developed a mechanical based storage device based on flywheel. And the main advantage of this flywheel, has unlimited cycles. Therefore, it does not degrade for over 20 years. There's no need to replace it. And because there's no need to replace it, although the initial capital cost is higher than batteries, the overall total cost of ownership and the cost per cycle is significantly lower compared to local storage system based on batteries. We are actually already deployed in Europe, and our cooperation with Blink is our first move into the North American market. Actually, we do believe that this market is going to be a significant market for us, as the part of the US, the grid, the electrical grid is not, I would say, is not always strong, and power is lacking and stability is lacking. And we think we can deploy quite a lot of system in the US. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilan. And before we will talk about the specific of your project, I want to turn to Gil Shavit from Gentile Energy.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello,
just saying, you appear as Shelley on your screen,
yes.
but this is Gil Shavit.
Yes, because by mistake, I was registered through her mail. She forwarded to me, sorry.
Yeah,
No,
no worries. We'll
Shelley
try to change this.
She's a better presenter than
Okay,
me,
we fixed it. We
it.
fixed it. You're on.
So thank you very much for allowing us to participate this very respectable summit. And GenCell is a developer and manufacturer of alkaline fuel cells. I can share very shortly my screen, if I may. And the company was founded exactly 10 years ago. In terms of company, it's a better company. In terms of fuel cell companies, it's a very young company. We have already more than 90 employees. We just went public last November in the Israeli Tel Aviv stock market. We have some patents on non-platinum catalyst materials on our electrodes. So this will allow in the long term or in the medium term to go very, very low cost in terms of mass production, and also a very advanced patent on ammonia cracking for getting low cost hydrogen. We're working about high reliability, and our systems are mainly, if we could see, are mainly working for backup units. We collaborate with Israeli companies as well. We also have discussions also with other companies like Chakratech. We're in very good relationship for many years. As the fuel cell now is deployed, probably the first time in the world to back up in a DC microgrid at a hospital. Cardiac catheterization rooms are fully backed up by hydrogen. This is a long duration backup. That makes the normal UPS to work instead of a few minutes to work a few days. And later on, the second stage is that we are going to run with independency on fuel. They will make their own fuel by electrolyzing water with their solar panels, and they will have at least a month of grid independency. This is the goal. And the extra hydrogen will be stored and will assist their steam and hot water with the direct catalytic burning that we are planning for them. This is the second stage. Later on, we are in the ride to go for the transportation using our ammonia crackers. So instead of storing high pressure hydrogen at gasoline station, it will be simple ammonia. We're working together with the Japanese company TDK on green ammonia. So the ammonia becomes a liquid conveyor to transport and store very low cost hydrogen. That will make the hydrogen enabling, we think, because hydrogen is very problematic in distribution. And this is just to share a few words about our company, and thank you very much. And we're very glad here to be and to really embrace the help that we get from Bird the second time.
Thank you, Gil. So both Ilan and Phil, your project for the development of and demonstration of boosting EV charging through energy storage system was granted in 2019. Could you tell us a little bit about the project?
Sure. Ilan, you want to go first?
Okay, yes. So as I said before, so the project was granted in 2019, but our relations go way before that. We had meetings with Blink, with Michael Farkas and his team, usually in trade shows for several years, and there was always an interest, a common interest. I think the issue was that fast charging has not matured enough. It took time, you know, EV penetration was initially slow and fast charging was not an important technology. But somewhere around 2019, 2020, this technology has picked up. And then people started to understand the problem that we are solving. Actually, the power that is needed to support the fast charging is very high, and in many places the electrical grid cannot support it unless you do a very expensive and upgrade. And they started to look for a solution for that. I think they have understood that the solution that we are coming, A, is unique, and B, has both technical, environmental, and most important, economic advantage over the long time compared to other solutions. And I think that was the match, because if I take what Phil mentioned before, they own the land, they are a long-term player. And I think that was the fit between the two companies, that they own the land, that they own the station, they don't just sell equipment, and that was the match. So they are interested in long-term total cost of ownership, and that's where we excel.
Thank you, Ilan. Phil, I'm curious, what made you partner you're a large U.S. player in the field with an Israeli company? What made you apply for Bird?
Well, I think a couple of things. Number one, it's pretty natural for us because, you know, we are a technology company and we like new, bright and shiny stuff, especially when it has the opportunity to shift the paradigms in the space. We also have prior relationships, both with Bird and with Chakratech. And we have an wholly owned Israeli subsidiary that's actually expanding and rapidly growing in the region. So it's actually was a natural fit for us.
Happy to hear. And can you tell us how the Bird project helped you advance your project or your technology?
Sure. So you know, the struggle that we always face is making decisions about where to spend money. And given that the landscape is still developing, meaning that there aren't enough electric vehicles on the road just yet so that we can actually monetize these assets, we have to be very careful, because we've been building a network for a long time, and the return on that network is now starting to come in, but it's a long-term perspective. So the ability to be able to essentially get a discount in our investment because we've got money coming from other parties is always a big help, and helps make decisions much easier. And so, for example, you know, we're deep into new energy. Our primary focus is lithium ion, simply because that's commercially viable today. It's more readily available today. And so obviously that gets the lion's share focus, but much to Chakratech's credit, they are looking at the the levelized cost of energy, which is really what counts. And their levelized cost of energy is a fraction of what lithium ion is. And so it's very interesting. Is it economic today? No. But will it be in the future? It likely can be, and we hope it will be. And so that was part of the attraction. But also, we serve as essentially the local experts. We understand the sites, we understand the infrastructure, we understand construction here, and can really help Chakratech make sure that when we get this thing done, that it's actually going to be useful. And our focus is mostly on the application, the integration, and the commercialization, most important. So I think it makes for a really good partnership, because Chakratech is a great technology company with some really good ideas, and Blink is a more practical enterprise that can take that technology and help Chakratech figure out how to best apply it, how to best commercialize it as part of our charging solutions business.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Phil. I'm turning to you, Gil. You're a bird veteran. You have already two successful projects. We start seeing repayments. We're very proud of your projects. Can you please tell us about them?
Yes, thank you. We had a great luck to have our scientists that immigrated from the former Soviet Union in the 90s, and to be able to meet them and to really generate a company around them, since they've mostly worked with the space energy for the Mir program. And they had always ideas how to simplify and to lower the cost of the electrodes that are making the fuel cells modules and stacks. And very, very rapidly, when we started to work, we found out that we're going to have mass production problem on these, because it never had been mass produced. So with a small company with no money, like most Israeli startups, and this was our own money to start, so it wasn't an OPM, it was really starting with our own very, very limited budget. We have made a great breakthrough by eliminating the platinum out of the equation, but still it still remained expensive, because it was done one by one. You need 768 electrodes per machine. So here come Bird Energy with Limor and Eitan, very nice people, and they came there and said, we'll help you. And together with the DOE, with Dr. Sunita Satyapal, that we also got a nice visit from her to see our facilities. They sponsored this mass production machine, which is still working. I would like to share a picture with you, because videos are not running always well. So I will do that for you in a second. You'll see the machine. You see on the left, this is a roll-to-roll machine, which allows you to see the powder, which was this catalyst, becomes really kind of a cloth, which is then laminated on a nickel mesh. And this comprises our fuel cell of 384 fuel cells, which are 768 electrodes. And what we are all proud of, that it really works. It produces thousands of electrodes per week, and we are already shipping our systems for all kinds of applications. And by that time, when we had very limited resources, that was a Salvation Army. And thank you for that.
So Gil's first project from 2013 was with the Innovative Machine Corporation for the development and industrialization of a new cathode for a next generation electrochemical fuel cell generator. Gil, do you want to tell us about the second project?
Yeah, second
with
project,
American Energy?
Second project, we still don't see the fruits because it's still on the beginning of commercialization of our next product, which is the same fuel cell works on ammonia, NH3 liquid ammonia. This material is part of the catalyst, which helps us to crack hydrogen very, very low cost and low energy. That says that we can deliver hydrogen out of ammonia at about a fifth or sixth of the cost of hydrogen if it goes by cryogenic or by high pressure and low temperature. That says we can get into prices that could be less than $5 per kilogram by hydrogen that is being green hydrogen to green ammonia into the station, and we needed that catalyst material to do the job. And that was the program with a company that is in the States. It's not under mass production yet, but it's in the process. And we see that the collaboration with Bird was the added value I see of Bird, that it's simple. It's a straightforward, get to the point, do the job, and good luck. And we're lucky.
I'm glad to hear. Do you have any advice for companies who are considering applying for a Bird grant? I mean, your best practices, how to work successfully together with your partner?
Is to try to really focus on finding the right partner. Because it's a trio, it's the two companies and it's the matchmaker. But not always Bird will find for you the match. You have to find, because then you know what you need, and then of course Bird should certify them. But if you do the job well and you are putting all your attention to find the right one, then Bird will make it as a package, and I think the concentration on the right partner from both sides is very important.
Yeah, I should add that if you don't know a partner and you're not working with an Israeli company, reach out to us, and this is part of what we do. We facilitate introduction. This takes time, of course, but this is the majority of our work is talking to companies from both sides, trying to understand what kind of complementary technologies they're looking for and making introductions. So reach out to us. This is very important. Ilan, can you tell us your advice for companies who are thinking of applying to Bird or are looking for a partner in the US?
First, I may say that working with Bird is great, and I will explain why. This year was an interesting year. We had the COVID-19, and this caused some delays. And of course, as Israeli, we took advantage of the delays to change our product specification completely. And we found out, and this also changed the timeline, and we found out that Bird and our partner, Blink, were very open and very supportive. I can tell you that if you compare it to the IIA, the Israeli Innovation Authority, it doesn't work the same there. They are very rigid and unflexible. And we found that Bird was flexible. We're working, I would say, in complete transparency with both with Bird and our partners in Blink, letting them know about the difficulties we have, and sometimes we have difficulty. We are doing an R&D project, and there are changes and there are problems. And there's always support, always understanding, and that's great. I think we have a great experience both with Bird and with Blink.
Thank you, Ilan. I'm happy to hear that. We know that collaboration and partnership are risky. This is why we are funding it and sharing the risk. we do have procedure, but as long as there's communication, we have a solution for everything. Phil, I'm interested in your perspective. Best practices and advice for companies who are looking for an Israeli partner.
So I think what was said it kind of sums it up. In order to be successful, a quality partnership that's compatible in many different ways is vital. But also is the understanding that success is driven by our ability to react and adapt. And in 2020, we saw a lot of that, right, with COVID. And we saw plans change. We saw the best intentions evaporate. But I have to give a lot of credit to Chakratech, a lot of credit to Bird, to be able to look at this holistically and react and adapt so that we are driving towards success and not allowing the situations around us that we can't control to govern and to, kind of rain on our parade. That said, we get involved in a lot of grant activity. The industry, the charging industry, is driven by grant activity at the federal, state, utility, and local level. So we deal with, literally 100 different funding enterprises that all have their own rules and different rules. And I have to say that, much to my happiness, Bird has shown that that they really look at this appropriately and really want things to be successful, as opposed to some of these funding organizations that really want to check the boxes and cross the T's and dot the I's without regard to whether it's successful. And what that does is it kind of breeds success breeds success, and it puts us in a position where, we want to be able to commercialize this program successfully so that we can give money back. And so it's almost like your attitude has driven our attitude, which gives us an incentive to want to do well. And so it's a really healthy cycle that we're having that we're really enjoying, quite frankly, and really appreciate the opportunity to do things that we might not have gotten to otherwise.
Thank you, Phil. It makes me happy to hear that. As the leading EV charging company in the US, I'm interested in hearing your perspective on the market and the opportunities that you see, and also the main challenges that are ahead.
Sure. So I guess in a word, the market is expanding wildly. It's on fire. It's really easy to get lost in the noise because things are accelerating so rapidly. We all know that infrastructure has to precede vehicles, or consumers are never going to get there. So it's almost like a chicken and egg issue. However, it requires advanced investment to build out that infrastructure. And the idea is build it and they will come. What's happened recently is that, even though the economy had some issues, global economy had issues because of the pandemic, the big automakers are full speed ahead. They've already committed the billions and billions of dollars to the product, and they're already now bringing, really good quality cars to market. It's no longer just Tesla. There's probably half a dozen brands that offer really good vehicles today, and that's expanding rapidly. If you look at the stats, this industry is the uptake of EVs looks like at least a 20% year-over-year compounded average growth rate, which is just obscene. And it means that we have to be very careful about where we spend our time, where we spend our money, what we focus on, and where that all takes us. And the fact that, the fact number one is that this grant topic is perfect, right? Fast charging on a weak grid is a big issue. When I first started looking at it, I said, well, how much of that are we really going to see, given that the adoption of EVs is starting in the areas where there's plenty of infrastructure? But the reality is, the United States alone is vast, and it turns out there are more highway interchanges than you can imagine that have no heavy power. And so the only way to really look at this is using these type of new energy assets to do that. And in fact, we're developing a kind of a transportable depot concept where we can take the Chakratech stuff, we could take the fuel cell stuff we just talked about, we can take all sorts of stuff and bring that together in these fast assembled, almost pop-up type charging depots, so that we can stay ahead of the demand, because we expect it to increase so rapidly like that. And so it's all hands on deck. The market is tight. Expertise is tight. It's hard for us to grow because it's hard to find the right people, because there's so much competition for people now. So in a word, our hair is on fire.
Ilan, do you have a different perspective looking from the Israeli side?
No, I have the same perspective on the world. I have different perspective on what's going on in Israel.
Yeah.
We are very slow in adaptation of EV. I think the problems are not understood yet. We are very early in the process. I think Europe is the most advanced, and the US is catching up fast.
Yeah. I would add one more thing, and that is, when you look at how these markets are growing, it creates all sorts of strains on the supply chain too. So one of the biggest issues we have is keeping up and making sure we have what we need. And so the fact that we have new technology and expansion of what will be available to us is really important, because things are going to have to change because the demand is just too great. And from a cost perspective, lastly, I'll say, my expectation, and this is just informal, is that half of all the fast chargers installed in the future will require storage, either because it's going to be mandated to allow to interconnect because you don't have enough capacity on the infrastructure, or because it's economically beneficial to do it. And so if you look at the numbers, that's just an incredible, immense growth rate, if I'm at all right. So I just
Thank you, Phil.
Add that.
Thanks. Gil, I know that you mentioned that the industry has changed tremendously in the last 10 years. Where do you see it going?
I think it will go in several directions. Batteries will be there for boosters, like capacitors, and then they will be recharged again by a clean fuel like hydrogen, or hydrogen that is derived from other materials like green ammonia, because you need immediate charge, like the fast charge that we see here. You need a slow charge, and then you need long duration or even sole source of something that will replace fossil fuels. So this change is going in all directions, and I think the future is going to be very, very interesting.
Well, we can't wait to see what your next work will be. And we hope to be able to continue communication with everyone here listening today. Since our time is almost up, we want to encourage you to continue this conversation. Since we won't be able to do it now on this platform, but we are curious to hear about your companies, what you do, what your technologies are. If we can make introductions for you, we will be happy to guide you through our submission process. So please either leave your information in the chat or send us an email. You can find all our contact information on our website, birdf.com. And reach out to us. This is the most important takeaway from today. I wanted to thank all of you for participating, for our speakers, Phil, Gil, and Ilan, for taking the time and telling us today about your projects and your activity through Bird. I'd also like to thank Sharon Vanek and the CICC, Toba Hellerstein and the Texas-Israel Alliance, who organized the event, and Shlomi Kaufman, the Consul General for the Pacific Northwest, for all his help throughout the year promoting Bird and US-Israel collaboration. Thank you all for listening, and we hope to continue the conversation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maya, so much. Yeah, I want to do a special shout out again for the Bird Foundation. Very rarely in life are you gifted free funding for these sorts of opportunities. So please, please, please take advantage. It's an amazing organization. We're going to transition in just a